multitasking when reviewing a scientific work. So why and when might that help? Thoughts? Not taking your time, not multitasking when you're reviewing or looking at science.
Well, if you're rushing through like reviewing something, you might be more susceptible to your biases just because like you're not thinking about the fact that you have them.
Right.
So you're just like, oh, like just get it over with kind of a thing instead of being like, okay, like I know I'm biased towards, excuse me, this. So like I'm gonna like try to like put myself out of the equation while I'm doing this.
Right. Good. More thoughts about that? I mean, so this is trying to mitigate the effect that's been observed and was discussed in this paper, if you all read it. That when we try to do things quickly, we rely on heuristics for reasoning instead of going through step-by-step reasoning process. And when we do that, our biases are more likely to present themselves more strongly. Right? And it's going to be the same sort of situation with multitasking. If you're paying less attention, you're more likely to be using these heuristics, and your biases are more likely to come out. Did you all read the New Yorker article? Some class. So, if you have read it, don't answer. I'm going to read the example at the beginning here and see how we do. A bat and a ball cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Quickly, some answers. How much does the ball cost?
Okay, the bat and the ball cost $1.10, and the bat costs $1 more than the ball.
Mm-hmm.
5 cents.
What do you think?
The ball costs 5 cents, and the bat costs $1.05.
Right. So, may have given you too much time to think about it, but most people answer that the ball costs 10 cents because
Their first instinct is
yeah.
that it was only $1.10.
Which is why I asked you to answer quickly. If I say, get out your pen and paper, we're going to do an arithmetic example, it's unlikely you're going to make that mistake, or at least not for that reason. That's an example of using heuristic reasoning to bypass the more arduous, time-consuming arithmetic. Right? And so it's situations like that where cognitive biases are going to be more strongly represented. So next suggestion they give is, before engaging in peer review, imagine in detail a female scientific leader. What do we think about that? And this is going to be more specific to gender bias in peer review, which is what the article is about, less widely applicable, but nonetheless. Also about that, imagine a female scientific leader.
You're the male, like, giving research or whatever to the leader.
No. So you're reviewing a manuscript or a grant application, presumably in this case, written by a woman. So before you start doing it, you imagine it's a woman who is not a woman you know. You imagine a fictional, prominent female scientific leader before you start the review process.
Are we doing one like actually from history or just one in general?
I imagine it wouldn't matter.
Okay.
They don't specify. I don't see that it would make much of a difference.
Oh.
Thoughts about whether or how that would work as far as mitigating biases?
Well, you wouldn't want to be biased towards this, I guess, males when you're giving it to it. You'll want to think it out and make sure that you're not biased toward one side.
Right.
You'd have a transference effect for the positive aspects of someone who is a prominent female scientist would then transfer in your concepts and what you're thinking about to a more positive sense of looking at that and perhaps mitigating at least to some level a potential bias against you.
Right. So the thought is, as has been shown by research, that tends to be a bias either favoring men or against women in these sorts of situations. So looking at a woman in that position in a positive light presumably will help negate some of the negative biases that you have. And that's the idea. Next one, as far as possible, undertake to review the assessment criteria before evaluating manuscripts or applications. As far as possible, undertake to review the assessment criteria before evaluating manuscripts or applications.
So read what you're looking for so that you can have it in the back of your mind before you actually go over the paper, so
Right.
that you know what to look for.
Yeah, so why would we want to do that, besides just doing our job well?
It kind of neutralizes who wrote it if you know what you're looking for, because then it isn't really about like who they are. It's more what they're saying and if they're actually on track with the paper and what it's supposed to accomplish.
Right. Anyone have anything to add to that? So, yeah, the idea is if you've got specific criteria, or specific criteria rather in front of your mind, while you're doing a review or something like that, you're less likely to bring in other factors which may be more affected by bias when you're reviewing the application or whatnot, right? Next suggestion is challenge yourself with thought experiments. Would your evaluation change if the investigator were a different gender or race or from a different institution? And the idea is think about the same paper or application, but written by someone from a different group or different gender. Right? And think about how you evaluate in that situation. So why don't we do that? Yep.
I feel the blind spot would come into effect there and you wouldn't notice even if you had bias there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a big worry that our own blind spots for our own biases will negate much of the possible helpfulness of this particular strategy. But maybe not in all cases, or maybe not for all people, right? suddenly realize that, oh, I've reviewed this poorly because it's written by someone from Iowa State, because I've thought about what I would think if it was written by someone from Yale, then you can try and go back and reevaluate more objectively. The final one they give here, journals and funding agencies should make sure that review criteria do not implicitly prime the selection of male over female scientists, e.g. avoid the use of male-type terms such as high risk or aggressive. They're in the selection